Hello and welcome back. Most of you are probably wondering if your Oracle 11G got installed correctly. So this video is all about testing Oracle. We're going to show you how to see if it's actually installed, see if it's running, and take a look at how you would actually access it. You don't get any icons or anything that shows up on the screen. I still have these folders here. I can go ahead and delete them at this point. So what I'm going to do is actually kind of just go through my start menu and show you what actually got installed. If I click on the Windows Start menu, let me make this a little bigger so you can see what I'm looking at. And if I go into Programs, you'll see Oracle by default shows up here. And we've got a bunch of subdirectories. The one that we're going to be looking at in this class and what you're going to be primarily interested in working with is going to be the Application Development Directory. And particularly the SQL Plus window is going to be of importance, especially right in the beginning, because this allows us to actually interface with the database. If you're not familiar with Oracle, go ahead, go through my PowerPoint slides. Lectures 1 and 2 will get you kind of up to date on the client-server model, what Oracle features are provided, and what it is we're actually working with in terms of a database technology. But for the purposes right now, I'm just going to basically show you how to access Oracle. So if you click on SQL Plus here, it's going to bring up a DOS window. It's actually really not a DOS window. It is an Oracle interface window that says SQL Plus release 11.1, which was the one I just installed. A little production date. It's not too old. Production on Monday, January 31st. It looks like today's date, actually. In any case, it says enter username. If you don't get this, there's a problem with your install, and I would go back through and I would basically just go back through and repeat it. Remove everything that you've got. Go through the add remove files from the Windows Task Manager. Remove Oracle completely, and then start to reinstall it. If this doesn't work for you, you can use the 10G version. You're not stuck with just 11. In fact, 11 took away some of the things 10G actually had. But for what I'm teaching in this particular course, a 10 or 11 will work because we're going to be working with this SQL Plus window. Okay, so I'm featured here with this, I'm presented with this SQL Plus window, and I'm wondering, I didn't create a user account. Yes, you did. Actually, in the install, when you gave that default password, which I told you to write down and remember, that's the admin or the system password. So the default user that's already installed is system. So go ahead and type system all in lowercase. And because we're going to log in as system, and for the purposes for what you need to know, system is the admin, let me say. That's equivalent to the admin. So if you press type in system and press return, it's going to say enter password. That's the password that you gave the install. So go ahead and type in that password I told you to remember and press return. And then it'll say connected to Oracle Database 11G, yada yada. That means you're successful. You are connected. The system actually has a set of tables. One of them is actually dual that keeps some system information, but it's probably empty right now because we didn't really configure the system very much or do anything in particular. But if I wanted to test the system, I could, let's say, just run a simple SQL command to say select star from dual. It's going to be empty, essentially, but let's see what's going to be in there. It's pretty empty. We have one column, well, we don't have very much. It gave us a D over an X. But that's actually the correct response. It's if I typed in describe, which is an SQL Plus terminology, describe dual, what I'm going to get here is the name, dummy, type, it's a variable character, 1. So there's a table out there. It's completely empty. There's nothing in it. There's no table. There's no columns defined in it. There are no rows in it. But what we're seeing here is a way of describing this particular table. So what we're going to do next is actually create a table so that we can start working with this. And this is really the true test. If you can actually create a table, then you're on your way to some pretty good success with Oracle. So let's see. I put it in a little text file actually because my typing isn't so good, especially in these videos. So what I'm going to do is kind of maybe see if I can overlap these windows here a little bit. Perfect. So you have to type this in. Actually, here, let me just make this a little. This is all one command, one sentence, and we actually haven't gotten there yet, but we will be getting there very shortly in the lecture series. Oops. Let me see if I can. I'll just scroll down a little bit more here. Clear. Yeah, there's a way of clearing. Oh well. Let me see. I was going to try and scroll this to the top. This will work for me though. Okay, so I'm going to create a table. I'm going to call it city list. That's going to have names and state and populations and zip codes. And in the next lecture, we're going to actually talk about SQL, and I'm going to describe essentially what all of this stuff means. But for right now, we just want to create something in this SQL window just to test a system essentially. So what I'm going to do is zoom it out a little bit, and what I'm typing in so that you can see it, that's probably good enough for me, is this text up here. So go ahead and type this text into your SQL Plus window, assuming that you were able to create, assuming that you were able to log in with system and you remembered your password and you're looking at this SQL Plus window. If you're not, go back, repeat the first couple of videos there, get Oracle installed correctly, then return to this one and start typing it in. So I'm going to create a table. I'm going to call it city list, and if I press return here, it's actually going to give me line number 2. See this? Let me zoom in here for a second, just so you can see it. Down here on the bottom, you see a 2. So assuming that this is line number 1, this is now line number 2. Then we're going to have line number 3 below it. And we could type in it all on one line and not use multiple lines, or we could do what I'm doing right now and just use multiple lines because it's easier for me to kind of conceptualize this. And I'm creating a field. I'm calling it a name, and it's of type variable character, which is just a character. I'll talk about data types in another lecture. So it's going to have 20 characters, which means names can be up to 20 characters in length. And you have to put a comma in between all these fields. So the next one's going to be state, and the state is going to be a variable character, and 20 in length. I probably could have just said 2 for state abbreviations, but we'll just leave this alone. And then population. There are some restrictions on what you can name, fields and tables, and we'll get to that as well. I'm going to say population is going to be 8 figures, or 8 in length, and then I'm going to say zip code, and the zip code is going to be a number. Let's say a 5 digits, and I'm going to make this one unique. Like each state, each city list is going to have a unique, which means none of them in here can match. And I'll talk about unique, and I'll talk about primary keys and stuff like that in the future as well. So assuming I've typed that in correctly, I put a semicolon at the end. So all of the SQL commands that you'll be typing into this window, you'll have to put a semicolon at the end of each statement. And that pretty much just tells you that you're done. So I'm not going to get line number 6. Hopefully I'm going to get nothing, because that's what I want. Oh, I got nothing. Well, I got table created. That's better than nothing. What I don't want is a bunch of errors. If I got a bunch of errors, I actually have to go back through and type that in again and fix the errors. But I was lucky this time. So now I can actually do the same 2 commands I just did before. I can say, let's say, describe city list, because I called the table. In fact, let me zoom in a little bit because I don't have to read my notes anymore. I called the table that I created city list. So now I can say, describe city list, and then put a semicolon at the end of the statement. And now I have the names, state. Right here we got name, state, population, zip code. And these are all the variable types that I used. I call them variable types. They're really columns. These are the columns in the table. These are the types that I've assigned for each one of the columns. If I do a select star, which is basically a wildcard, so give me everything from this table. Well, there's nothing in the table. City list. Let's say select star from city list. It's going to come back. Oops, maybe I spelled city list wrong. City list. Keyword not found. From. I left out from. Okay, so this is a good. Actually, it just tells you even people who've done this for a while can make mistakes. So I left out the word from, so I can retype this incorrectly and go select star from city list. And the focus of my next lecture is going to be on SQL and the syntax of SQL. So I'll be discussing the select, star, select, a field name, all the different select combinations, and then from, and then you give out the table name. And then I haven't actually showed you this yet, but there's a where. So you can say select something from this table where this particular condition exists. And that's going to be the focus of our next video. However, at this point we're just kind of playing around a little bit, thumbing through ahead a schedule, and kind of just testing out the SQL Plus window. And here we have, well, no rows were selected because the table's empty. So I would say go ahead and create this table, because what I'm going to do in the next video is I'm going to extend the functionality, and we're going to add some, I'm going to show you how to run SQL commands hands-on. We're going to insert some data into this table. We're going to extract some data out of the table. We're going to join this table with another table. We're going to perform a lot of extensive queries on this table and kind of build a whole system of tables in here, so that I can show you how to use the SQL Plus statements that are part of Oracle, how to use SQL, and how to essentially navigate yourself in this window. And basically all you need is access to this SQL Plus window. At this point you can go back through and look at some of the other options that showed up in the showed up in the Windows Start menu. You'll notice if you go back there, you'll see there's a bunch of other features here. This is mostly configuration information, and it's going to be tools for the configuring the Oracle environment. That's going to happen a lot later in the course. For the purposes of what we're doing right now, we're just basically trying to get our hands on Oracle, what it is, how to work it out, and that's going to be basically in the application development. So go ahead, find the SQL Plus window. And let me zoom out a little bit more here. See if you can create a table, describe the table, and then see if you can get anything. See if you make sure you come back with no rows selected. You have an empty table. And then in the next video, what we're going to do is populate the table a little bit, and then change some of the table characteristics, and run through a bunch of SQL commands in the videos to follow. So I hope you have found this video helpful. If you are able to do what I was just able to do, your Oracle 11G is installed correctly. If you haven't gotten a successful install yet, go back and repeat the process. Maybe try another computer. If you're trying this on a Windows Vista system, give up. It's not going to work. You have to put it on either an XP or a Windows 7 system. They do say Oracle actually works, the 11 version works on a Mac system. However, I've not tried it, and I don't really want to spend too much time working on that because it's not well supported. So you're better off using an XP or a Windows 7 system. If you have an old XP system, that would be fantastic. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for the next one, which will be on SQL commands, where you'll have to go into this SQL Plus window, and you'll have to, well, you won't have to, you'll want to enter in some commands and start playing with SQL. Okay, thanks for listening.